Hi everyone, I'm Celeste and welcome to my YouTube channel. My channel is all about cosplay and today's cosplay is Persephone from the video game Hades. I am obsessed with this game. We've poured over 100 hours into it. It is so much fun, and because I'm pregnant, I decided to cosplay as pregnant Persephone. The great thing about this costume is that I can wear this after I give birth and I can dress up my son as Zagreus. Hooray! So, if you're new to my channel, hi and welcome. I'm CelesteOrchid. I've been cosplaying since 2005, sewing since 2006, and I'm here with my YouTube channel to help you guys out with sewing, vlogs, relaxation, just stuff. So, if you could, just click that red button down below to subscribe to never miss out on any future content. That'd be awesome. And let's go ahead and get into this making DIY how-to tutorial of Persephone from Hades. Yeah! So we are starting off with this green shawl that goes around Persephone, and I have the perfect fabric. I picked this fabric from Best Estafa. I got, I think, 1.5 meters. What I'm going to do is cut it in half and sew it together to make a long rectangle strip. What I'm literally doing is just folding the fabric completely in half. It's okay if it's like slightly adjusted, and I'm just going to cut down this side here. But what I can do first is align it and then make my cut. So then I'll just go like this and then start going down that way. Sometimes with some fabrics you might be able to go like rip it. This isn't a cotton, so I can't rip it straight down that. So now I had to cut all of this, and I do believe this is, let's see, 2.5 meters of material. So here we go, gotta cut it up. Now putting the salvage edges together, I'm going to line up the top and sew it together, creating one super long strip. Because I'm a weirdo, I decided to do a French seam. You don't have to do that, by the way. I just decided to do it. What you do is you sew one side, you flip it over to the other side, and then you sew it down, and then you can sew this part down again, so it becomes like a super duper secure seam without showing any of the raw edges. Ta-da! Now you can see how lovely and clean the French seam is. Now it's kind of really big, like 3 centimeters, but yeah, I just want it to be super strong. Now with this uneven edge, I'm going to take it to the serger. Now I just do the edges, making sure that they'll come out pretty decent. Right now they're super choppy and I don't feel like cutting it myself. That's why I'm using the serger to do it. And you can just see that it just melts it off at the edge. And that's why I highly recommend getting a serger, because it just does it for you. Look at that. So nice. Now with the raw edges, well, I guess finished edges, I just need to fold it over and create a hem and hide these. Once I hide these, it's done. Next up on my Persephone cosplay, I'm going to be making the braids that go around the dress. I don't have access to braided cording in my stores, so what I'm going to be doing is making it out of this material that I got at a thrift store. Now you don't have to make it from scratch, and this is why it's going to be a quick little segment. I'm going to cut it, turn it into bias strips, sew the strips, and then braid the strips. So let's go with that. So I sewed together 2 strips on the wrong sides. That way the right sides will look pretty. And now I'm just going to hem this to create a cord. I'm going to need like probably triple the length of this so I can braid it into a really long cord that it's going to tie around my body. So I finished these 3 strips. They're pretty long. They go all the way to the floor. Now I sewed a little line across at the top here. And then I'm going to use this as a hold with my sewing machine, and I'm going to slowly hand braid this. If you guys don't know how to braid, watch this. So when you braid, you have 3 pieces. I'm going to fold over the left in the middle, then the right in the middle. Oh, that didn't get secured as much as I want. Now I'm going to do it the same way, the left in the middle and the right over the middle. Make sure you pull your strings through so it doesn't create knots at the bottom. And now I'm just going to completely keep going until I have made the entire length of the ribbon nicely. Hold on. I'm gonna make sure that this is nice and secure. That way it does not come undone. Leave it there. And slowly left over right. And then over left, over right. And that is how you braid, and we're going to keep doing this until we are done. So, to make sure that the braid does not come undone, I did a lot of stitches to make sure that it stays in place. So this is what you can see. There's a little bit of brown there versus here it's very clean. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more of this and just tap it. And then slowly brush it through. Now that I am done dusting this with a little bit more distressing and weathering, like the other side you can just tell it's like woven. It doesn't really give a lot of dimension, so that's why I added a lot of the dirt so you can see more raised parts and have a little bit more braid. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around my shoulder once, like so, and then I'm going to pin it. Once I have it pinned, let's see, I think I might have it a little higher. It doesn't need to be really tight, that's the thing, because it's going to cross over the boob like that. So I'm going to pin it in place. Then I'm going to cross over my chest, wrap around one time on my body. Now that I got it nice on my body, I'm going to go one more time around, go up, so it looks like this. So we have one full cross, and then wrap around here, and then here. And this will be how much I need. I'm going to go ahead and mark this off and pin it here as well. And then I'm going to hand stitch everything in place. Now you're probably wondering, how are you going to put this on and off? Well, that's really simple. So what I'm going to do to be able to take this off, now that it's the perfect measurement around my body, is I'm going to remove one sleeve, the other sleeve, and ta-da! That's it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and hand sew these in place. Persephone has a waist tie, so I'm going to be using this velvet, and the waist tie is green. And I bought this for a different commission that never came through. It needs to be double the thickness of the braid. So I already finished the braid. And then I need to fold it once, and then twice, and then here. And then I'm just going to mark that. I guess, this isn't open. I'm going to mark it. And then I think I'm just going to have two pieces and cut it out and just make myself a nice little ribbon. So what I have done is sewn two pieces of the fabric together, and then I sewed all the way down the edge, but the bottom part I pressed together. This way the seam is going to be at the back. What I'm going to do now is take my knitting needle and help me turn it inside out. Now I did leave an opening for me to flip it inside out at the center seam, and that's just going to get hidden. So you can see here that there is a gap, so I can flip it inside out there. And I'm just going to slowly work my way down this knitting needle. Now there are other tools that you can use that are a lot more professional than this. This is just one of the quicker ones that I have. I have a professional loop turner, but I'm just like lazy. And so now that I get to this part here, And it's there. Oops. It's okay if it gets poked. She's working in the garden. We're just going to slowly work our way. With this open. And then what we want to do is press it flat. And now I have this really nice ribbon of fabric. And you could actually use this for ruffles if you want to go like this and then sew it down. I will be using that technique later. So having a nice tube is nice. And so the seam will always be at the back now because of the way I sewed the edge. Now I just got to do the other side and then tie this to my harness and then it's done. I'm going to be making a really long and small version of this for my hair. I decided to add a little bit of extra detail. It's not going to be super noticeable, but I did 3 lines of stitching or quilting so that it'll lay flatter, and that's what Persephone actually has in some of the pictures. So when the light hits it, you can actually see it. I did that on a whim. You don't have to do that if you just want to have a really nice thick piece of fabric hanging where you tie it at the waist. But I think I'm going to be doing that again also for the hair piece that wraps around. And I just wanted to have a little more quilted textured look. But yeah, so this part is now officially finished. I will be tying it on each time when I wear the rope harness. And I just think it will be easier that way. That way I can center it whenever I wear that costume. So I'm going to be moving on to Persephone's dress. I wanted it to kind of look a little bit, you know, woven fabric, as you can tell. So what I'm going to be doing is using a pattern. This is one of the patterns that I use all the time. You've seen me use McCall's 4450. I'm going to first kind of gather the fabric and then pin it because I want the front to have a little bit more fabric than the sides, and there's that in a bag of chips. So I'm going to go ahead and gather this fabric and pin it down, cut it out, assemble it, and show you what I'm doing next. Can you see the texture on this? It really looks like it's been woven. And I think that's really fun about certain cosplays, that you don't have to use just a standard cotton, but don't be afraid to play with texture and different types of fabrics. Just make sure you don't show your underpinnings, aka panties. So the dress is completed, like the base of it, you know. So like I said, I had a little bit extra, and that's in the front, and that's going to create a little bit of ruching. So what I'm going to do now is create the bust band. The bust band is the same material that I used for the belts, and so I had a little bit left over. I just wrapped it around my body. I went like this. And now this just has to sit nicely here. And so I just went like this, and I cut the excess off. Then I sewed it together to create a nice circle. And then I'm going to create it like a bias taping. So now I have this sewn here. I have the right sides pinned together. I'm going to sew it down, flip it over, and then sew it down again. And then my top, like the base of the dress is done. I just have to add sleeves. So for the sleeve part, the sleeves are supposed to go on top of the gold band. So I'm going to make mine just a tiny bit longer than what I need, and then very thick and full. I've measured out 19 inches, roughly 50 centimeters. And then I'm just going to cut this in 2. So then I'll have enough for both sides. This is what the dress looks like completed, but without the straps. So I pinned the straps in place. What I'm going to do is gather them and then bring it to the back. I'm not going to pin down the back just yet, but you can see that it has quite a lot of space there. So all I had to do is just replicate this markings on the pins on this side, and then gather the sleeves, and then pin it down in the back and sew it together. And that would be the dress complete. Now we just have to do it. I have some EVA foam or foam sheets. They're like super tiny, like a millimeter. So I'm going to be measuring out my arm. I'm going to go ahead and measure out my wrist, which I have my wrist measurement, and then I need a little bit higher, which would be my forearm measurement. I need 2 of these forearms, so those are 8 inches, so I need 2 8 inches, and then my wrist was 6, and then 1 band, and this is 9.5, so 8 by that. Now I'm going to take my foam and try to make a pattern here to make my pieces. So what I did was I measured out 5 inches because that's how long my arm length was going to be. I did the middle band that's going to go here between the gauntlet and the upper armband. I made sure to write out what these pieces are because they're going to get covered by fabric, and then I can read this on the outside. And then the upper band that goes on my bicep has 2 pieces, so I have those marked out. Now these are not according to my measurement, but the length that they need to be cut. I decided to use my old 2014 Elsa wig, and this is from Amazon. Very cheap, not good, not a lace front, but it has the perfect amount of bangs, so I decided to give it a wash. Ew. And now I'm just going to move it to my dress head and let it dry. And if I want, I can't blow dry it because it's synthetic fibers, not heat resistant. So I just gotta let it naturally air dry. So let's go back to working on the gauntlets. Woo! Now I've taken gold fabric, sorry I'm tired, and now I'm gonna hot glue it down following my hot glue fabric foam tutorial, and then glue it together at the sides to create the cuffy parts, except for the gauntlet. I'm going to use Velcro when I find it. Sorry, I'm very tired. Here's my hot glue gun. It's pretty hardcore, and it's cordless. Yeah, basically, little strip of glue, flip it, little strip of glue, flip it, and then it looks really clean. Woo! Yeah, that's basically it. If you have a problem with this, just ask me. So before we get to the final cosplay reveal, I have to tell you that I had to make my own hyacinths for my hairpiece and wig. And that's because I live in Denmark and it is near impossible to get really nice fake flowers, and I really didn't want to wait. So I went to a store and I found this, which is kind of like a cattail kind of thing. Not the prettiest if you can see it. So what I did was I cut it down and I literally like shaved half of the width off. Now to get this color purple, I actually used eyeshadow and the colors blue and purple. Now you're probably wondering, how did I use eyeshadow to make such a pigmented from this to this? I wet my brush and my eyeshadow and used it as a paint. And then when I was fully satisfied with it being super covered and pigmented, I went ahead and sealed it with some makeup spray. Yeah! So remember, being a cosplayer does not mean you have to go out and buy paint. You can use things that you have around your house, be in creative mood, you know, just try things out. Luckily, this little cattail had 3 little flowers, if you want to call it that. So if I did mess up, I had at least an extra chance, and I started on a small one first. This one got shaved down really hard, and I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. It looks good. So that's how I made my little purple flowers for the hairpiece. Like, yeah, I'm very happy with how they turned out, so yay. Yeah, and let's go ahead and get into my Persephone cosplay and show you the final grand reveal. And if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in a comment down below. Or if you like this cosplay, make sure to leave some hearts in the comments and click that thumbs up button. Okay. Yeah!
Like a Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. They'll take for their disease. Breathe just like a wing, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip gods into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit.
Never miss out on any future content. And remember to stay inspired, be creative, play some Hades, and I will see you in a future video. Bye! Oh wait, like, Hades, I am not sponsored by them, but I highly love the game, so yeah, woo! Play it, it's so fun. I like it. But yeah, this is how I made my Persephone cosplay with my wig. I just whipped it around and yeah. Okay, stay inspired, be creative, and I will see you in a future video. Bye!